And this is a very crucial part, because with thermal we get the vocals to a hilarious level of building tension. Welcome to this video. I am Casate Cruz, melodic techno and progressive house producer and DJ, and today we are breaking down my song What You Want. This song has a classic modern melodic techno style that you hear a lot nowadays. So my goal is to give you a lot of production techniques and tips and tricks producing this kind of music. Or as always, just to give you a look behind the scenes how I produce my music. So I hope you get inspired, so without further ado, let's go. So let's start with the most important thing, the bass line. And lucky for us, most of the time bass lines in melodic techno are really simple and straightforward. At least kind of. Because in melodic techno we don't rely on tonal variation but more on modulation and filtering. As you can see here, the rhythmic pattern is a very common one in this genre, and it only follows the root note D in this case, since the whole song is in D minor. To get the whole spectrum, we have two different bass lines. One covers the middle and higher frequencies. The other one is a sub bass covering the low frequencies. So and both of them are made in Serum 1. Feels surreal mentioning which serum it actually is. As you can see, the bassline is very simple, but the magic happens with the filter automation on the higher bassline. So what happens is that envelope 2 in this case is assigned to the filter cutoff and then automated so that the filter opens or closes depending on the settings in the automation. So this makes that the sound of the bassline changes dramatically depending on the settings right here, just as you heard before, and this is exactly what we want, because the looser the filter, the more tensions the sound. And the tighter, the less tensions. And this is also the reason why the filter is tighter in the part and gets looser when we get closer to the transition. A bit more tension before we have the transition right here, then it rises again and the drop hits. Because so we're giving the sound of the bass line much more space when we're ending the part than in the part itself. Down. And building up again. And then the drop hits. Simple as that. So let's have a look on the other elements of the first part in the song. In terms of the drums, we have a rolling head and a closed head. Then there's also percussion that adds a lot of atmosphere. And the most important one is the clap to get this typical hard-hitting sound in melodic techno. And to get this, the clap has some saturation on it. And more importantly, and you can hear it already, a lot of reverb. And we also have a high cut at around 9K and a low cut at around 500 Hertz, so that it doesn't take too much headroom in the mix. Because reverb is really greedy when it comes to headroom in your mix. And we also have some simple vocals in this part, and I stretch them to pitch them without actually changing the key. This is a really nice feature in FL Studio, by the way. And originally they sound like this.
Lights on, lights up, tell me what you want.
And stretch like this.
Lights up, tell me what you want, tell me what you want.
I added some saturation with BB tubes, EQ to cut the low frequencies, delay reverb, and again high and low cut. Without processing, they sound like this.
Lights up, tell me what you want.
And with processing, they sound like this.
Lights up, tell me what you want. Tell me what you want.
Processing vocals is one of my favorite things to do, by the way, because you can do so much crazy stuff with only one vocal sample. And what kind of crazy stuff you're gonna see in the transition in a minute, because we have some additional vocals there. So then we add white noise and some atmosphere with a very quiet pad, so listen carefully. Very subtle, very quiet, but add some texture to the track. I already showed how I make these types of atmospheric elements in another song breakdown, so make sure to check it out. And last but not least, there's a plug made in Serum and processed with saturation, Camel Crusher for distortion, EQ, cutting the low frequencies, and some reverb. So the plug itself is only playing the root note D. Well, yeah, and that's it for the first part.
Lights up, tell me what you want. Tell me what you want.
Let me tell you, the transition in this song is crazy. So first of all, we have the bass line that filters slowly in with the automation from earlier. You already saw this one. So then we have the plug where we do the exact same thing with an automation on the filter cutoff in Serum to get the sound that slowly gets more tension. Also, the drop lead slowly comes in with a filter automation, but we get to the structure of the drop in a second. And now the most fun part, the other vocals I already teased and mentioned before. So this vocal sample is already processed, but I wouldn't mention them if we couldn't get even more out of it, and we over-process them in a way. So first of all, we add some saturation with BB tubes, the best plugin in my personal opinion when it comes for saturation on vocals. And then some distortion with thermal, and this is a very crucial part because with thermal we get the vocals to a hilarious level of building tension. This sound, this distortion adds some kind of drone sound to the vocals. And I think now you get when I'm saying we over-process the vocals. So in the transition part, this is absolutely awesome. If we would use it in the part or in the drop itself, in this way at least, I guess it would clip a lot. But here, it's absolutely amazing, let me tell you that. So then we have EQ to cut some of the low frequencies to avoid some issues with the rising bass line. And then I copied and pasted the vocals, panned one of it to 40% to the left, reduced it in volume, and panned the other one 40% to the right, and also reduced the volume to make the vocals as broad and massive as possible. And the result is a crazy build-up. But that's not all. There's even a little bit more because I made some automations from effects on the master channel, namely delay, reverb, stereo separation, and volume. They are placed on the master channel, but they don't do anything except for the build-up sections. And this is a very cool trick that you can use for your own build-ups. Because we increase the amount of delay and reverb in this transition, we reduce the amount of stereo separation and we reduce the amount of volume. First of all, the delay and the reverb gives us some kind of washed out effect before the crystal clear drop hits. And the stereo separation and the volume make that the drop appears much louder and more massive in that way and more fatter and in your face. Very simple trick with a huge impact. And that is the transition, the build up. Alright, there's actually not so much to say about the drop, because we already built the foundation in the build-up to make almost everything hits hard from this point on. So what I can show you is the lead sound itself, because it features some very common melodic techno patterns. We start with a long playing note, then some stuttering 16th notes, followed by another long playing note. So we start with the root note, it's D, then we go down to the 7, go down to the 6, 7, root note. Simple as that. And it doesn't even need more to sound really great. Because again, we're in melodic techno and a lot of melodic techno productions rely on very easy and simple structures, but the important part is the modulation and the sound design and the filtering and all sorts of that thing. So the sound is processed with some saturation with blood overdrive. Then we have camel crusher for distortion and an equalizer to cut the low frequencies. Then delay, reverb, stereo enhancer and multiband compression with OTT. And we have kickstart to make the sound more bouncy. And lastly, the sound has a layer. So the layer is playing the exact same note, but it's a different synth and also one octave lower to make the sound as broad and massive as possible again. So now let's listen to the whole thing with build up and drop so you get the full picture. That is nice. The second drop, by the way, we have an element of surprise to spice up things up a little bit. And it's very simple because the lead sound jumps one octave up. And that wraps the song breakdown up. I hope you enjoyed it and also learned a thing or two. If so, please give thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Every bit of support is helping me to make my music and also videos like these. You're contributing to this amazing journey, so you're also part of it. Thank you very much. If you have any thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comments down below. And until then, have an amazing day or night and see you soon.